Hey Wargamers, today we're going to do another army list review for one of my supporters over on Patreon. If you haven't seen one of these before, basically what I do is take an army list that's sent to me by my supporters on Patreon, review it, talk about the things that I think work well, the things that I think maybe don't work as well, and then revise the list, trying to keep the original intent and character of the list the same, but tweaking it in ways that I think will make it perform a little bit better on the tabletop. So today's list is a 2,000 point list sent in. It's meant to be kind of a Skaven theme, and I'm not sure if that means that there's a lot of extensive Skaven conversions, like if it's a bunch of Skaven models with pulse rifles or what. Andy Teagues has a great Skaven converted Mechanicum army. If it's in that corner of the hobby universe, I'm not sure, but it's Skaven themed. So lots of infantry, lots of vehicles and mechanics and stuff like that, Skaven. So we're trying to keep that character the same, but look at the things that we could tweak to make it a little bit more effective. It's a 2,000 point list, 3 detachments, 2 Tau detachments, and a Borkan detachment. So let's jump into it. All right, so we start off with a Tau battalion detachment. For HQ, we have Cadre Fireblade, fantastic choice. I think we start off every review video saying Cadre Fireblade is a fantastic choice for an HQ unit. And so Fireblade is a fantastic support unit, especially in a infantry intensive army. Cadre Fireblades are going to be fantastic. Yes, obviously a good choice. Then we have a commander in an 85 enforcer battle suit. He has a drone controller, 3 missile pods, strength of belief, and that makes him the warlord. So this guy here, I think, has is a little bit in a different position than the Cadre Fireblade. Cadre Fireblade, I think, is a fantastic choice. This guy strikes me as a little bit inconsistent with the overall theme of the army, or not theme, but workings of the army. It has a drone controller, which will help with some drones. But really, if we're going to be bringing a drone controller, I'd much rather put that on a crisis suit, on a stealth suit, something like that. Something where I'm not giving up the awesome firepower of a commander to make that drone fire a little bit better. So really, I think the drone controller on the commander is a huge opportunity cost that we don't want to take. 3 missile pods on a commander too. Missile pods are better than they were. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong about taking a missile pod on a commander, although a lot of the times you can get a lot better output just from taking broadsides. So I would look at broadsides for missile pod shots instead of a commander, and really focus my commanders on delivering those high priority shots like cyclic ion blasters and fusion blasters. So those are the 2 weapons that I generally look for on a commander. And then he has the strength of belief warlord trait, which is cool. I mean, it allows you to ignore mortal wounds on a 5-up, but that is an extremely rare thing that you're actually going to get benefit from, because it only applies to mortal wounds and it's only in a 5-up. The number of times that a commander is going to be shot with mortal wounds is few. So I would much rather see something, a more generic kind of, staple warlord trait like through Unity Devastation on a Cadre Fireblade instead. There's also issues with, having your battlesuit commander be your warlord, just in terms of risk. A lot of times your commanders are going to be picked out and killed. They're going to be in high-risk situations. And having something that's easier to hide and protect, like a Fireblade, is a little bit more conservative than going with the strength from belief on a commander suit. Now, if this is part of the theme of the army, cool. I think kind of part of the idea here is, this list is definitely going for a theme, and I don't know exactly what that theme is going to be. So if there are things that I'm saying that are inconsistent with that theme, just ignore them. Do what works for you. Do what, makes the army fun and enjoyable. So if this is one of those things, hold on to it. But in general, I would stay away from a couple of different components of this loadout on that commander. For troops, we have, 3 units of 5-man strike teams. Fantastic. The Shazwi here have marker lights. That's great. Having your marker lights embedded in Fire Warrior units is a really useful way of keeping them on the board. Now, instead of having to only kill 3 models, he has to kill 15 models to get rid of all those marker lights. So that works out pretty well. For fast attack, we have a unit of tactical drones. Tactical drones are fantastic. They allow you to sprinkle in drone support where you need it, when you need it, and you're not confined by the deployment rules of taking attached drones. And of course, you can take many more drones in a tactical drone unit than you usually would be able to take as an attached drone. So for this particular unit, we have 3 shield drones. Yay. And then 5 marker drones. Marker drones are cool. I think that they offer some unique tactical advantages, particularly if they're able to deep strike an area and get marker lights on a unit that's being targeted by a battlesuit unit that otherwise wouldn't be able to get marker light support. Now, in this particular case, I think really what these drones are going to be doing is supporting some crisis suits and other units that are mentioned further down the list. And so I would prefer to see them be shield drones, just because those suits are going to be facing a lot of firepower, and having those shield drones there is going to be really useful. You can do a lot of the same things with marker drones, right? Like, you can still do savior protocols with marker drones. They're not going to get their feel no pain, their 5-up feel no pain that shield drones get, but you still get the savior protocols. And maybe, maybe that's all you really need. Maybe you're not expecting these guys to really stick around. And at a unit size of 8, your drones are probably going to kind of run away during morale phase anyway. So taking marker drones here is not necessarily a huge detriment. So you could really go either way. The standard answer is to take these as shield drones, though marker drones could give you some additional flexibility. All right, moving on to another Tau battalion. We have a commander in XV8 crisis suit. This guy has all the weapons. He has 2 cyclic ion blasters, which is a great choice for a crisis suit in or a crisis suit commander. You can't get cyclic ion blasters on a cold star, and I think the crisis commander is a great chassis for cyclic ion blaster, so that's great. He also has an airburst fragmentation projector, which is upgraded to the supernova launcher. I love the supernova launcher. It's a fantastic signature system, in my opinion. If not fantastic, just a lot of fun to play with. So yeah, that's cool. I like that. And then it has a shield generator and a radiant battlesuit. The radiant battlesuit, kind of a requirement on this guy. You get a 2-up save on him. Fantastic shield generator. Kind of the same deal that we talked about with the drone controller on the other commander. Is I would rather have another weapon on this guy, because he's going to be landing hits. And so there's a pretty notable opportunity cost there by taking the shield generator instead of another weapon. But if you're thinking that he's going to be picked off in some way, then a shield generator might be worth it. So, really, I would opt for a full weapon loadout here, though, if it were me. Then we have Dark Strider as well. Dark Strider is good in infantry lists because he allows them to fall back and shoot. That's a pretty cagey way to fight, and it can really mess with people's heads. You go up against an opponent, they're like, okay, so your battle suits have fly. I know that if I tie them up in combat, they'll just run away and shoot me. And they're not necessarily thinking about your infantry doing the same thing. So being able to do that with Dark Strider is awesome. And then, of course, he has the Structural Analyzer, which allows you to improve your wounding against a target. So that is pretty darn nice, but is really only effective. Well, not only effective, but most effective when you have a large unit of infantry. And that's something that this list currently lacks. We don't have any big blobs of infantry. The closest that we get is we get a unit of stealth suits later on, and they get, a fair number of shots each. They each get 4 shots. But still, we're going to be looking at some weird... missed opportunities there in terms of being able to really leverage that structural analyzer. The stealth suit team is going to be getting a fair number of shots, but I wouldn't necessarily want Dark Strider to be with the stealth suits, because he doesn't have a way to really be where the stealth suits are going to be most likely, assuming you deploy them using their infiltrate ability. So they're going to be potentially in different places on the board. And if they're not, then you're probably just as well taking a big unit of fire warriors with the Counter Fire Blade to really amp up their shooting. So Dark Strider being with the stealth suits seems like a challenge to pull off. I think you can make it work, but overall it's not going to be as flexible or cohesive as pairing him with something like a strike team or even a breacher team. All right, for troops, we have another 3 5-man unit or 3 5-man units of strike teams. So these are exactly the same as before. They don't have marker lights, and that's fine. Marker lights in strike teams are kind of something that I do if I have, 10 or fewer points to throw at something. So that sounds good. Here's that stealth unit that I was talking about. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stealth suits. That's a good number of stealth suits in a stealth unit. Generally, 3 I feel is too few. Much more than 5 or 6 I think is too many. I think you get too bulky then. But 5 is a pretty good number. You have enough that they're going to stay on the board, and you get a sizable number of shots out of that as well. All right, for fast attack, we have a unit of Pathfinders. Pathfinders are, they're going to contribute to the theme of the list because they're infantry. You're looking for a high model count army here. Pathfinders are going to do that for you. But if we're looking for reliable marker lights, there are better options, both in terms of cadre fireblades and then firesight marksmen as well. So depending on what we want to do, we might want to shift away from Pathfinders in order for a little bit more optimal marker light output. Then we have 2 3 vehicle units of Piranhas. This is something that we've talked about in the past, that Piranhas can be, again, very cagey. They are aggressive. They allow you to dictate some of your opponent's options for movement. And then they have built-in gun drones that you are able to not only continue that kind of disruption that the Piranha offers, but they can also be unloaded to help out your crisis suits or any other battle suits that you have on the tabletop. So really, I think the Piranhas are a really cool component of this list. I've been experimenting more with Piranhas lately, and I think they're pretty fun. So I like to see the Piranhas in this list. I think it fits with the Skaven theme as well. It's kind of like, some of their more ramshackly type of vehicles that Skaven have. So yeah, we have 3 Piranhas in a unit. Each of them have 2 gun drones, and then they have a fusion blaster. The thing about Piranhas, though, I think that they should have burst cannons, just in general. The fusion blaster, Piranhas just don't have the ballistic skill to really make a single fusion blaster valuable. Really, they can get in range, they can deliver those shots, and if you have marker light support, they have a better shot of doing that. But overall, I'd rather see a different unit carry those fusion blasters, whether it's a commander or even a unit of crisis suits that has the support of a commander, something like that. I'd really be into that. And so I would recommend switching away from the fusion blaster, sticking with the pulse drones or the burst cannon pulse drone. That's not even a thing. It should be, though. That'd be cool. Well, we have pulse accelerator drones. I guess that's close enough. All right, so another unit of Piranhas. Again, this is going to give you a ton of options in terms of dictating opponent movement. You're taking up a lot of table space with these guys, and that's cool. And then one missed opportunity here, especially if we're looking for the Piranhas to be delivering some heavier punches, are seeker missiles. So we could put seeker missiles on these Piranhas to help them deliver the punch that they would otherwise do with a fusion blaster at a higher range too, which is an added benefit. So we can do that, and I think that's probably a pretty good use of those Piranhas if we were to do that. The last detachment here is a Borkan detachment. It's a Vanguard detachment. We have a commander in Cold Star with 2 plasma rifles because it's Borkan. Borkan get those extended range plasma rifles, which are pretty darn sweet. So I like that. And then we have a missile pod and the high output burst cannon. This is fine. Again, the high output burst cannon missile pod don't really fit with the plasma rifle to me. I would rather probably just see this guy full with plasma rifles, or again, more optimally probably taking the standard 4 fusion blasters. I think he's going to be able to give a little bit more of a punch that way. Then for elites, we have a unit of crisis suits with 1 Cheswi with 3 plasma rifles, another Cheswi with 3 plasma rifles and iridium, and then a Chesvray with 3 plasma rifles. If you're going for crisis suits in Borkan. That's a pretty cool way to run them. I love plasma rifles. They are super. They're really, you know, the most nostalgic Tau weapon for me, and I am always looking for a way to make them work. You can make them work, especially if you're facing a heavy tactical marine or even a Primaris army. Plasma rifles can do really, really well. But if you're going against anything with an invulnerable save or higher toughness or anything like that, you're going to be looking at cyclic ion blasters or fusion blasters being better. You could also, you know, if we're dealing with a more horde army, you're looking at other units just being better than crisis suits too. So there's a really, really narrow niche for plasma rifles. They only have one place where they're really optimal, and that's against tactical marines. So for that reason, I tend to shy away from plasma rifles now, even though I love them. I want to make them work. They're just not the best for the majority of armies. You're really narrowly focused with plasma rifles there, so I'd shy away from those. Then we have 2 ghost keels. Ghost keels as Borkan does work out pretty well because it extends the range on their weapon, which right here is Cyclic Ion Raker. So Cyclic Ion Raker normally has 24-inch range, boosts up to 30 with that additional 6 inches. And that's great because ghost kills don't want to be close to their opponent. So having that extra 6-inch range is very useful. And but overall, I think ghost kills do lack the damage output that we would see with other options. Right now we have 320 points in ghost kills here that we could get a lot higher damage output from a unit of broadsides for the same price. So really, I would rather see broadsides in this list instead of ghost kills for that reason. And then finally, we have a Sky Ray. I think if we're putting seeker missiles on the Piranhas, we don't need a Sky Ray. In fact, we're actually going to be getting more seeker missiles in two units of Piranhas than we are in a single Sky Ray. So plus we have all the added benefits of the Piranhas themselves. So the Sky Ray, I think, is kind of he's not going to be pulling its weight here. And so taking the Seeker missiles on the Piranhas alleviates the need to take this at all. So I think that would work out pretty darn well. That's another 150 points that is freed up for doing more cool stuff. So, all right, that's the list. I think overall, so I know this list went to RTT and did pretty darn well. So again, if this list is working for you, keep on trucking, I guess. But overall, I would shy away from a few of the choices here. Again, I really like the focus on infantry and Piranhas. I think that's really cool. And then the commanders. Basically, the way that the commanders in this list work is that all the commanders and the crisis suits have to drop down in a single location and kind of be, I don't know, like a little mini Farsight bomb almost, just all of them together. And then plus the drones, of course, too, that we mentioned before. So there's not a lot of support for those suits. I guess that's probably why things like the commander have a shield generator, because they don't have a lot of shield drones around them. In fact, there's very few drones in this list, right? There's only these eight tactical drones, really. So I think the list itself is going to do really well against infantry-based lists, especially marine-based lists. I think it's going to have a really hard time with anything that has a higher toughness or invulnerable saves. Anything that we're really going to need to punch through, because we're lacking a lot of that heavy firepower here. We're primarily looking at volume of fire with this list, which does fit with the Skaven theme, but Skaven also have some pretty intense weapons too. So I'd like to see the list pivot a little bit more towards that part of it. So all right, that's the original list. Let's take a look at the revision. All right, so here's our revision. I tried to keep it again with the theme of infantry with some vehicle support, kind of being a little bit Skaven-y. But yeah, so we have the same kind of loadout as before, 3 detachments. 2 of them are Tau Battalion detachments. So we have that initial Tau Battalion detachment with the Cadre Fireblade. Again, he's my warlord now. He has 3 Unity Devastation, which is really going to play to the strength of this army, which is infantry and pulse shot. So through Unity Devastation is going to play really well with the theme, I think, and just is a great warlord trait. He also has the benefit of being on a Cadre Fireblade, so we are going to be a little bit more difficult to pick out of the crowd. Then we have Commander Shadow Sun. If you're bringing Tau and you're bringing any type of battle suit, I really think that Commander Shadow Sun is a tremendously valuable asset. And so, yeah, she's gonna make an appearance. It's kind of a staple choice right now in a lot of lists, I know, but there's a reason for that, and it's because she's really good. She does have 2 fusion blasters as well, so if we end up having an enemy come up close and personal with us, we can punch them in the nose with that, and it that contributes a few more fusion blasters in a list that was lacking that type of firepower before. We have 3 units of Fire Warriors here again, just like before, and then for elites we have 3 Firesight Marksmen as our Marker Light source instead of those Pathfinders. Again, they're still infantry. They still are, kind of this horde-like unit, but they are sneaky. They're sneakier than Pathfinders are, and I think that does fit with Skaven, right? Like, these guys are the lurker rats. I don't know what the actual terminology for Skaven are, but I think that these guys would be that type of mouse. Then we have a unit of crisis suits. Again, because we are looking at trying to amp up the firepower here, I loaded these guys up with 2 fusion blasters each and a cyclic ion blaster for flexibility, and gave them a unit of 4 shield drones built in so that wherever they drop down, they will have their best friends, the shield drones, with them. And then, of course, one of them has the Iridium battle suit, just like in the original loadout. In the 2nd Battalion, we have that commander in XV8. In an XV8 crisis suit, he has the same supernova launcher as before, but then he has 3 cyclic ion blasters instead of 2 and a shield generator. So I dropped the shield generator, took another cyclic ion blaster, and he maintained the Iridium battle suit as well. So just a minor adjustment on that guy. I think that'll work out pretty well. And if he drops down alongside your crisis suits, he will do nicely, right? I mean, he's going to really amp up the power of that drop. We maintain Darkstrider as well because he will play well with he plays well with others, and this list has some others. So, but because we brought Darkstrider, I amped up one of these units of Fire Warriors. So one of these units, instead of being 5, it's now 9. You could make some adjustments to make it 10 or whatever too. But really, this is going to give us a little bit more leverage when using things like the Structural Analyzer. We have another 2 5-man units of Fire Warriors as well. For elites, I had a few points left over, and this is a choice where you could really go any way you want. You could go with a few more Fire Warriors, a few more drones, whatever. But I took Dayak Grek because, for one thing, he's cool. He's dishing out some mortal wounds. He's giving you some flexibility, and he can pop up, wherever. Really good for being sneaky, and that's kind of the theme of this list. I thought was sneaky. So Dayak Grek, he fits, and he's a nice component to the list. So I thought he'd be cool to bring. Some really cool conversion opportunities there, I think, actually. And then for heavy support, we talked about how you could get. You could basically get a unit of broadsides for the cost of 2 ghost kills and a Skyray, and that's what we did. So I have 3 broadsides here with missiles and advanced targeting systems, and then they have a unit of 6 shield drones with them as well. And then finally, we have our 3rd detachment. It's an Outrider detachment. That's Tau Sept. I shied away from Borkan because I like Borkan. I think it's cool. But I thought that if we're going to be bringing Tau, then we should really be all in on Tau. And the reason for that is because it allows us greater synergy between our units and special rules. Things like Darkstrider and now Shadow Sun, they're only going to work for Tau Sept units. And, importantly, the Tau Sept stratagem is only going to work for Tau Sept units too. So the Focus Fire stratagem that allows us to take down things, we're going to want we're going to want everybody to be able to play with that stratagem. So taking everything as Tau Sept, I think, made sense, even though it meant that we lost access to the fun things that we did with Borkan. All right, so we have a commander in Cold Star. Takes 4 fusion blasters. It's a little bland, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Again, we are trying to amp up the firepower on this list so that it can punch a little bit stronger, and the commander in Cold Star is a really, really reliable way to do that. For fast attack, we have another unit of tactical drones, 4 shield drones that can drop in wherever they are needed, or deploy alongside your units as well. That's, I think, something that you need to always remember is don't feel pigeonholed into deploying your drones one way or another. Be flexible. Think that, hey, if I'm going against an army that has a lot of first turn shooting, maybe I want those drones on the board, even though I had planned to drop them in via deep strike. Or the other way around. If you're looking at something that has more deep strike potential, maybe you want to keep those drones in reserve. So they're flexible, and you should be too. For Piranhas, we got the Piranhas back, guys. They're still here. Like I said, I think they're a cool part of the list. I think they're thematic, and I think they can really screw with the opponents. So we have the same 6 Piranhas split across 2 units, and they have burst cannons instead of fusion blasters because we put our fusion blasters somewhere else. And then they have the seeker missiles that are really gonna let's see, we have 12 seeker missiles here. That's pretty darn sweet, right? That's 2 Skyrays worth of seeker missiles that we can shoot out. So not a bad complement of seeker missiles either, and that's really going to give us some good first turn shooting between the broadsides, those seeker missiles, and then all of our pulse weapons. So I think we're in a good place here. I think this list can definitely take out some knights. It can take out mass infantry. I think it's pretty flexible. I think it's highly mobile. I think it's probably a pretty good list overall, and it stays thematic. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What do you like about this list? Do you like the original better? Do you like the revised better? What changes would you make? Always interested to hear. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy wargaming. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, consider joining our community over there and continuing the discussion on Facebook or Discord. Special thanks to Aaron Fox, Shifty, Jim Bob, Scott Heater, Nick Steele, Jared Egler, Tao Oswell, Zach Brooks, Stephen Cohen, Jake Johnson, Eric Jackson, Zealous Brimstone, Evan Wells, Benjamin, Julian Peck, Andy M. Young, Giovanni DiMaggio, and Chris Kessler.